Anthropomorphizing animals is a history that is a little contested. This video, however, will cover the early history of cats, depicted as people-adjacent creatures. If you wish to hear about the downsides of anthropomorphizing, stay tuned. There will probably be another video in hopefully the not-so-distant future. The pictures we'll look at today will detail how the process of anthropomorphizing is more often than not light-hearted, a little silly, and specifically in this cat instance, irresistibly cute. At times, however, it gets sinister, so stay locked in. Not all the case studies to come are anthropomorphic per se, but still concern the synergetic relationship between cats and people. It's been said that cats were domesticated around 10 to 12,000 years ago, when agriculture was in its early developments. Are you a cat person? They've been favoured by various cultures and people and had a multitude of symbolism attached to them. So let us sit back and relax into this video as we delight in the universal cuteness of cats and kittens in the history of art and beyond. The ancient Egyptians adored their cats, appreciating that they ate pests and vermin. Royal cats would share plates of food with their masters and were mummified when they passed. The goddess Bastet was worshipped as a benign counterpart to the lion goddess Sekhmet. As a sign of mourning, ancient Egyptian cat owners would shave off their eyebrows and continue to mourn until their eyebrows grew back. Cats were so special that those who killed them, even by accident, were said to have been sentenced to death. Another favourite, or at least in my experience, is the bizarre depictions of cats in medieval works of art. They appeared in a lot of illuminated manuscripts between 1100 and 1600. The approach artists took to painting cats during this era is revealing of the attitude on painting reality at large. There was still some work to be done in rendering forms from real life, but often the output makes for real charm and humour, even if accidental. There is a splendid whimsy to the images produced during the Middle Ages, which are imbued with pre-surrealist, dreamlike displays of magic and religious episodes. Cats during this era are no different. As we all well know, and has been explored in a past video, women have been valued as evil, sensual beings. In the Christian world, we can say this began with Eve's acceptance of the snake's apple. Like women, cats too by this time were starting to be seen as associated with the devil. In Jan de Beer's Annunciation, the cat here, and yes, that is a cat, sits with an air of cunning. It's most likely a reference to the medieval saying that the devil was trapped by Christ's incarnation in the way that a mouse is trapped by a cat. Cats came to be associated with superstition and witches during the medieval period too. Thus we get the marriage of cats with women. We could say this is a match made in heaven, or perhaps in this instance I should say hell, which continues to this day in many facets that we'll look at later on. We can see in some of these pictures of the occult more cats doing human things, slightly mental, but I really would be keen to see and hear my own cat tooting on some woodwind. It's perhaps worth noting that the medieval period saw a multitude of creatures painted and drawn into pictures: horses, birds, dogs, mythologicals. But the push-pull symbolism of cats, evil or graceful, is the reason for their particular attraction. A special shout-out is worth giving to Puss in Boots, which was published in 1550 to 53 by Giovanni Straparola. In the story, the cat is a fairy in disguise who helps his owner, a poor boy named Costantino, to gain his princess by duping a king, a lord, and many citizens. Since its creation, a delightful array of illustrations and proliferations of cuteness have ensued. Here the cat is our hero, a celebration of bravado and pride. Into the Renaissance, the new emphasis on science and maths saw cats in the realm of bestiaries and scientific illustrations. Ulisse Aldravandi's Monstrorum Historia, or History of Monsters, depicted these freaky-looking cats among monsters and mythological beasts. Believe it or not, these illustrations were meant to be for the purpose of zoological accuracy. No comment. However, Aldrovandi was not just about science. He had a penchant for symbolism too, so amidst all these detailed drawings, he occasionally slipped in a nod to the cat's symbolic and allegorical significance. I wouldn't say these cats are anthropomorphized as such, but they certainly had been attributed to human or even superhuman characteristics by humankind. Shakespeare did not, it would seem, like cats. Writer L.A. Vassell has noted that the cat is referred to in a number of Shakespeare's plays, but always negatively, who would apply their characteristics to human behaviour. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, Lysander says, "Hang off, thou cat." In Romeo and Juliet, Mercutio insultingly remarks that Tybalt is a rat catcher and the king of cats. And in Much Ado About Nothing, Benedict says, "Hang me in a bottle like a cat and shoot me." Mean. In a very similar vein from the Reformation era, this cat comes to stand in for Catholicism at large, as he is gruesomely being hung at Cheapside in the UK. Protestants at the time would burn effigies of the Pope filled with live cats, which would squeal as they burned to death. The medieval period was certainly never a walk in the park, was it? Back onto a less tortuous path, in the 17th and 18th centuries, cats appear in the genre paintings. For anyone who hasn't had the pleasure of taking an introductory module on art history, the genre painting categories ranked the everyday subject as the lowest in the hierarchy. Cats were generally a part of still lifes and domestic scenes, but occasionally they wriggled their way into portraits. The courtiers of the Rococo stylings adored cats, most likely for their adjacent frou-frou allure. Another trend in the Rococo era was singerie, a form of visual art in which monkeys would mimic human behaviour. It had existed prior to the 18th century, in fact, but reached the peak of its popularity then, one could say. In this work by Abraham Teniers, the cats have been commandeered into the world of singerie as they sit encloaked in the barbershop. Was singerie in fact the true inspiration behind Darwinism? The 19th century sees the commodification of cuteness as people realised the appeal of cats can make them money. Domestic pets began to become a thing en masse, and the popularization of the cat lady trope took place. L.A. Vassell notes that the cat lady was seen as a kind of moralising figure who could teach children. I suppose this was a symptom of those women who did not marry, or perhaps were widowed, and forced, through the restrictions of their time, not to remarry. Thus would be designated two fates, a wretched and lonely spinster type, or a woman earning her way as a teacher. Amusingly though, Vassell notes that it wasn't all rosy pictures for the cat lady, as the well-known Comtesse de la Tour was charged with having too many cats in her house in Fulham in 1887. A reported 21. We must not fail to mention the king of anthropomorphizing and Constellations' favourite, J.J. Granville, who often used animals in his work as he illustrated the rise of industrialism and the new capitalist culture encroaching on the layman's everyday lives in the metropole. He usually dressed the cats in the hoity new fashions. Sometimes he'd have them married. Either or, they would always be adorned in the trappings of the modern day. Walter Benjamin championed Granville for the same reason he adored Baudelaire, which was their ability to represent the experience of commodity fetishism and the phantasmagoria of modern life. I will 100% be doing a video on this in the future, as it's simply one of my favourite subjects. However, if you'd like to read up on the topic, I've left a link to an article by the wonderful Michele Hanoosh in the description. We can go to the Far East now for their fond feline prints. The ukiyo-e period from the 17th to 19th centuries consisted of beautiful Japanese woodblock prints. Ukiyo-e translates to pictures of the floating world. Utagawa Kuniyoshi, in particular, would put cats at the centre of a lot of his pictures, imagining these great cat monsters who appeared to the human figures like tempests. Beyond Sang-byok's work, like a lot of pictures with their cats in the Far East in the modern period, were decorative and playful. There was less weighty religious symbolism and history, which we have seen in some of the work earlier in this video, not to mention a disregard here for any associations with sin. These prints and pictures in turn influenced artists in Europe, as the East was a source for inspiration quite often in Europe at the time, as we all well know, rather problematically mostly. There are some notable works by Pierre Bonnard and Théophile Steinlen. We can end this video with modernity's favourite character Baudelaire and a poem of his from his seminal Fleur du Mal. Please do note that this has been translated from the original French, very eruditely I must say, by John Gallas. Cat, my dear cat, come to my hungry heart. Sheath your paw claws and let me plunge into your gorgeous metal and marble mixed eyes. When my fingers fondle your head and your sprung back wanders slow and my hand, lushed in pleasure, gropes your electric body. I see my woman, her look like yours, amiable animal, deep and cold, split slices like a spear, and all along, all around, her dark body swims, air faint and a dangerous sweetness. The poem allows for the cat and his female lover to hold a dual main role in the poem. The woman as a lovable and sensual creature, the slinky cat as a woman's body. There are for sure some creepy elements. As Carol Rumans notes in a Guardian article linked below, words like fondle and grope both add a tender tactility to the overriding feel of the poem, yet are also undeniably predatory, reminiscent of a sexist, heterosexual norm of the past. The anthropomorphism in the sexy feline catwoman trope is the thread I will definitely be picking up in the second video on this incredibly rich subject. There was so much research I found in the process of making this video, as well as a mostly gleeful range of stories and facts on such a fun topic. Let me know in the comments if you prefer longer form videos actually, or if the apartheid series works nice. There was so much that I didn't cover over this time period, but as always we have the future. Please do like the video if you got this far and enjoyed yourself over the course of these last several minutes. It really helps out the Constellations channel immensely. See you next time for part 2. Meow.